Well, I showed you the hardware. Now I'll show all the stuff that comes with it. You'll see that the Magnavox Odyssey is a total play and learning experience for all ages, which is why you have games like Simon Says and States, because, well, the learning part in that. And here you see there's a certification with a 30-day guarantee, which I think is no longer valid, sadly. Let's open this up with one hand. Daring task. Don't want to break anything. Ew, okay. And here we have it. First we have the manual, which is pretty important if you want to know what you need to play what game. This will tell you which game cards work with for what games and which overlays. Now, whoops, these ones are swapped away. But anyways, first you have game number 1, which is your table tennis game. It has basically 2 player objects, your wall objects, just to divide the screen into 2, and a ball object. Number 2 is really basic. You just have 1 player, and depending on what game you play, you have to make that player. Usually it's, like the ski game, just weave through the path. Number 3 is actually pretty similar to number 1. The only difference is that there is no line in the middle of the screen, and they recommend you use the tennis overlay. So one of them's tennis, the other one's table tennis, which I find a little redundant, but what the hell. Number 4. Number 4 is basically the chase game. You have 2 players on the screen. One has to tag the other one, and if the other one's tagged, well, then he disappears. Game number 5 is it's kind of like a shooter game. You have 2 players, one on either side of the screen, and one has to fire the ball at the other one, and if it shoots, well, then the player disappears. And finally, number 6, if I can get it out. Sort of the same as number 2. The only difference is that number 2 is for player 1, number 6 is for player 2. Did I say that right? I think so. Anyways, and here you have a few playing cards. If I can pull them out without making a mess. Okay. First, here you have your Simon Says cards. Then here you have some of your cards for Haunted House. Ooh. Probably the most complicated game, football. For this game, you kind of have to use 2 game cards. There's a board, there's a bunch of cards. Anyway, it looks real complicated. And finally, we have the States game. And a few knickknacks. Here are some some dice and some tokens for roulette. Now, they also comes with paper money. I don't have the paper money though, so here are some of the overlays. I'll show you the smaller ones. I'll put the larger ones aside for now. So first we have hockey. Then we have States. Then we have, the submarine game. We have roulette. And we have analogic and the tennis game, which again, I don't really know why there's table tennis and tennis, but yeah. Oh, and we have the Haunted House. We have skiing. Simon Says. Football. And finally, cat and mouse. Now, one thing that I've seen a lot of people do is they actually use tape to tape the overlays over the screen. Actually, that's not really necessary because the overlays actually work with static electricity. So, well, if you're using a tube TV anyways, you should just be able to stick it on using static electricity. I don't know if a lot of people play with their flat screens, but anyways. Here we have a game board. This is for roulette, and on the other side is for football. Football has a lot of accessories, which, makes it confusing. Here's your answer sheet for, or is it the answer sheet? Or, yeah, it's the answer sheet for your States game. Here's a little thank you note. A little map of the States. This thing wasn't included, but it's just a photocopy cardboard, but it's just to give you the football things. This is actually the real football thing, but you see the footballs aren't there anymore. And this is your football scoreboard. Another photocopied thing. This is an order for a free Odyssey game. Oh my god. I'll read it later. How to service your Odyssey, which is probably going to be very good to read. And another photocopy of some stickers and stuff. And actually I do have some of the stickers right here. So, you see. And that's about all that comes. The system would be here, but it's not in the box. So now we'll go on to the shooting gallery box. And here's probably one of my favorite accessories in my whole collection, the Magnavox shooting gallery, or the Odyssey shooting gallery. It's really surprising that the first home system had a light gun accessory like this. When you think about light guns, you think about, the NES Zapper and Duck Hunt. But the Odyssey, ignoring the fact that it was the first home system, was actually pretty innovative in other areas. Like, it had detachable controllers, which that in itself was pretty handy, because if you look at other Pong systems, the knobs were right on it, so you pretty much had to be up close and all that. And actually another thing that I discovered recently is, though this is the first light gun for a video game, the first light gun was actually made back in 1936, which is pretty much 30 years before Ralph Baer started working on the brown box. The machine wasn't really a video game per se, but it did use a light gun, and it was called the Ray-O-Light. If you ever are curious and want to look that up a bit more. But this is the first video game light gun, and you can see it looks very shotgun-like. I doubt that any retail or any game makers today would make a gun realistic like this. They'd probably have an orange end and weird colors on it, just so it doesn't look too realistic. And that's why I really like this one. It's really pretty cool looking. The only downside is I can't play Duck Hunt with it. So, anyways, the gun actually comes with 2 games. Here's game number 9, which essentially is player 2 controls controls a little dot on the screen, and when you shoot at it, the dot disappears. Game number 10 is a bit more complicated, but it's probably the game that I've played most with the light gun, and you have 2 players on the screen, and you have to make the ball bounce between the players, and then you shoot at the ball to make the ball disappear. The only downside is that this doesn't really differentiate against targets, so you can probably just shoot a player and the ball would disappear anyways. You can shoot, the light bulb trick works really well, because I don't think this has any shutters or anything, so it's always opened. Finally, a few of the overlays for it. I have a few. They came up rolled up like this, but I have a few already out here. So start off with the cowboy game, the western game. So as you can see, these are see-through, so when you'd have the light in back, well, you'd shoot there. Here you have a World War II or World War I, I think, or anyways, it's a ace fighter game. So whenever the light would be, you trail the light behind there, and whenever it'd be at a target, you'd shoot. Dinosaur game. Now that looks pretty awesome. If only they'd would have remade something like this for the NES. Heck, maybe there is, and I don't know. But a nice dinosaur shooter. And finally, you have a shooting gallery, which is basically, this is the game where you'd have the ball bounce back and forth, because it has that motion, and you have to shoot it when it's behind one of the targets. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the Magnavox Odyssey. I hope I didn't forget anything, though I probably did. Kind of did this in a few shots, but in about, yeah. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I'll have time to make more, so see you next time.